You know, most people, when making a speech, give you the benefit of the doubt. They'll say something like, remember this, it's going to be on the test later. We're not that nice. I mean it. We're going to test you right now.
So what we want you to do is fish out that crayon that you were given earlier. And if you still have that piece of paper, or maybe on a crumpled up receipt or something like that, I want you to answer this very important question. I'll let everybody get situated. And the question is, what is your art? And we give you full artistic license to think outside of the box with this question. You can be as creative as you want.
I think art keeps everyone going. I mean, I don't think people would live if there wasn't art, just all the different forms of it.
What is art to me? That's a tough one.
I don't think I understand the question.
I like to take materials and bust them up and make stuff out of them.
Found objects.
Art? Mm-hmm. I build hot roads.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I have lots of arts.
Gosh, you're asking me this highly intellectual thing.
My art is the expression of the body and mind working together.
What would you say that your art is?
I make babies. I'm not kidding.
My art is a culmination of my feelings and the way I feel about God and the universe and people.
Art to me is a way to avoid having a real job.
Art is food. I can't see myself doing anything else.
My art is making a person look real good.
People would consider my shop art, consider what's in it art.
My art is the theater.
Art is life, and I express my life through my art.
That spoken word really was the key to get me out of prison.
My art would be this museum.
What's your art?
My art?
What do you mean what's my art?
I create it for probably just the pleasure of creating. It's just, it's like an obsession. It's like a drug.
My name is Jeremy Make.
And I'm Andy Raney.
And it's our firm belief that everybody has an art.
And to explore this theory, we set out 2 years ago on a 110-day, 6,000-mile journey across America, asking people this very question: what is your art? And we traveled by golf cart.
So the first question you may be asking yourself is, why on earth would anyone want to drive a golf cart across America? And I have the same exact question. Andy, how'd you talk me into this?
And that is a fair question. I get that a lot. But you see, it all started when I came back from studying abroad. And here I was experiencing different cultures, studying different languages, living in different countries. And I came back to the U.S., and I genuinely felt like I did not know what American culture was, or exactly who made up this country. So I had been to China and Brazil, but I'd never been to Chicago or Boston. So I wanted to hit the road and do a road trip. But I didn't want to do it in a conventional way. You see, because you just pass America by on the freeway. I wanted to take the back roads. I wanted to get my hair in the wind and hang out with the locals. And a golf cart is a perfect way to do this because it's fast enough to get you there, yet it's slow enough to let you really breathe it in.
So we did our research. We actually Googled cross-country trip on a golf cart. Slightly more surprising, this golf cart came up. This is our baby Christine, a 1957 Chevy Bel Air body on this golf cart. And we got some, we had a little time to buy a one-way ticket and quit our jobs, and we were off on our journey. We got some interesting questions along the way. Famously, how fast does it go? We stayed off of highways. We were just on back roads most of the time. So that means that we went about 30 miles an hour downhill.
With a
tailwind.
Yeah.
The gas mileage was about 40 miles a gallon, which actually made it a green vehicle.
Mm-hmm. And where do you sleep? We get that one a lot. Wasn't this expensive, staying in a hotel every night? And to stick with our mantra of hanging out with locals, we slept in people's homes across America, using friends, friends of friends, family, strangers sometimes, either through coercion or actually, if you've heard of couchsurfing.com, we use that a lot. And then, of course, we broke down a lot, so then we just had to camp on the side of the road, which brings me to, did we ever break down? Boy, did we. Let's talk about this golf cart. This is a 1989 club car. It is a golf cart that has been handmade. Duct tape. It has been made with phone cords, cardboard. There was always something going wrong with this golf cart.
We met some really incredible artists along the way, and most were willing to share their art with us. But we got some really unexpected answers about what art means to people in America. I'm remembering Rick Standridge right here in Greenville, South Carolina, an incredible rock and roll artist. He invites people to live exhibitions, very concert-like settings, and he's painting to loud music, which is pretty cool. And he told us this story about going into elementary schools and asking the kids in the classroom, who here is an artist? Raise your hand if you're an artist. And every child raised their hand. I'm an artist, I'm an artist. But as he got to middle school, and especially in high school, fewer and fewer hands went up when he asked the same question. And we realized that as we get older, people tend to feel like they may not be creative, and they don't want to admit to being creative in their hearts.
Mm-hmm. And Jeremy, you remember Erin Garman?
Erin Garman in Phoenix, yeah.
Phoenix. So Erin, really interested, she was an art teacher with juvenile delinquents. And she said that most oftentimes her kids' artwork was very dark and depressing and violent. And she said, though, that it's something that she really encourages her students to do because it's a way for them to act or not act out those emotions, to actually convey those emotions without acting upon them.
I'm also remembering David Dahlquist in Des Moines, Iowa. He's a large-scale public artist, and this is actually one of his works. It's one of the largest mosaics in the country, and actually lights up from the inside, so at night it's really pretty spectacular, as well as right at sundown. David Dahlquist was really proud of the work that he had brought to communities, and said that because of that work, people then want to live in those communities. I thought that was right on.
Mm-hmm. The next one, Angus Galloway in Atlanta, Georgia. So this is really interesting. He drew photos, charcoal mostly, and he said that the experience of using one hand made him feel seasick. So now he draws with both hands at the same time. And he said that there's a misconception about art, that it's an act of leisure, when in fact it's actually very difficult. The end product can be relaxing, but the process is most certainly not.
We had the very fortunate opportunity to meet one of my heroes, Edward Albee, a 3-time Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright, most famous for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. You might remember the movie version with Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. And he had the most succinct quote on the whole trip, which is, "We, as humans, are the only animal that creates art." That's pretty darn important. He used slightly more colorful language than that. And he also told us that he never wears underwear.
Little fact there, little tidbit.
It's really big when it's...
Oh, I can see right up. What about the people, though, that their art wasn't so readily obvious? Let's check out this guy. Remember him from, that was in the video? What we didn't show you, this was a construction worker 100 miles outside of Phoenix, and we posed the question to him, "What's your art?" And he immediately fired back and said, "Oh, I don't have an art. I'm no artist." But then we started to ask a few more questions, like, what are you passionate about? What do you put your heart into? What do you absolutely love to do? And then he's, oh yeah, I build hot rods. And if that's not art, I'm really not sure what would be.
You may not buy into what we're saying here today, that this is just two guys on a trip across the country on a golf cart just being silly. And there were some silly moments, to be sure. But there were some important themes that we started to learn that really sort of backed up our initial theory about everyone having an art. We started to notice that there is an importance to art in education, to communities, and to us as individuals. And first and foremost, in education, study after study has shown that kids who participate in the arts in the classroom are significantly better prepared for other subjects in academia. And this is doubly true for those kids who are considered at risk. Remember Aaron Garman in Phoenix? This graph right here, this chart shows that those students who participated in the arts for 4 years compared to those who only participated for 1/2 year or less did about 60 points better, I think, on verbal and about 40 points better on their math sections of their SATs. And that's just startling to me. And the only thing I can think is, Andy, why didn't I take more arts classes in high school?
You and I both.
Yeah.
You and I both. And what about community? Remember David Dahlquist, who was so adamant about building a beautiful community so people would want to live there. It turns out that 70% of Americans feel that art and artists make their community a better place to live. And lastly, of course, individuals. What does art do for us? Edward Albee said that we are the only human that creates art. Or we are the only animal that creates art. So to be human is to be creative. So why is it that we deny our humanity, especially when it does so much for us?
It should be obvious at this point that we have amassed quite a bit of video footage and about 10,000 still photographs. We are in the process right now of the post-production for a documentary entitled kART Across America. And we'd actually, at this point, I think it's important that we turn the cameras on you. So thank you for the house lights.
House lights. So everybody have their piece of paper here? Did you get to writing something down? So I have to be this guy here. And could I ask you maybe? What's your name? Gillian. Gillian? Gillian. It's a nice name. Where are you from, Gillian? Liberty. And do you know what I'm going to ask you right now? Yeah. So what's your art? Connection. Yeah, a connector. That's a valuable skill.
And thinking outside the box, which is what we like.
Love it. And thank you for being a good sport, and sorry to put you on the spot. But even though this is the last stop on our documentary, this is not the last stop of this journey. This is an open-ended journey. And the conversation of what's your art must not stop here, nor can the discovery of art. We all must think about what it is we're passionate about, and how is our voice actually heard? It's a matter of finding that place where we feel most at home and finding that activity that just gets us away from the everyday. And these are our arts. Whether it be the mother raising her child or the architect at Ground Zero. I mean, everything comes from the creativity that we all have inside of us. So if you could just review the answer that you had earlier, and feel free to make changes either now or 10 years from now, because this is an ever-evolving thing. And we should stop asking the question of, what do you do for a living? Or, how's it going? And then not listening to the answer. We should ask questions that actually allow us to get to know each other. And my art, I would say, I'd have to say, is travel. And Jeremy, what's your art?
I knew you were going to ask that. I did. I think my art is communication through the arts.
It's like making a film.
It's a great example.
Weird. Yeah. So I want everybody to go out and find their art and practice their art. And for the sake of good conversation, share your art with your neighbors and hold on to those crayons for you to remember this.
So we'd actually like you right now to turn to your neighbor, and I think you know what the first question is. See if you can listen as well.
We have time.